Yo, what's going on, AP Government people? We have video number 12 for you today. This one is on the function and organization of political parties. We are in Unit 3. This is a huge portion of the AP Gov curriculum. So make sure you know all about political parties. Okay, so let's get into this. What the heck is a political party? Well, it's an organization that seeks to control the government through political offices. So people align themselves with political parties and hope to make changes through the government. How does someone become a member of a party? Well, in the United States, there are no dues or fees to be a member. Any person can register, which will allow you to vote in closed primaries. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Or you could simply identify as a member. If I want to say I'm a Republican, I'm a Republican. If I want to say I'm a Democrat, I am a Democrat. I can register if I choose, but I can still choose not to and simply identify as one. Now, the Democratic parties represented by the donkey and the Republican parties represented by the elephant, they have national, state, and local offices. Political parties serve several purposes. It's important to know what the purposes they serve. They are an example of a linkage institution, and holy cow, make sure you know this. A linkage institution is an organization that connects the public to the government. Other linkage institutions include the media, elections, and interest groups. And we'll talk about those in future videos. But to me, this screams of a multiple choice question. All the following are examples of linkage institutions except. So be sure you can identify the linkage institutions. Political parties also pick candidates. They nominate candidates for political office. So really, this is kind of new, the 20th century. It's only recently that the public has had a say in the nomination process. It used to be members of the political party would go and they would meet up at a convention in a city and they would pick who would run for president. James Garfield, who was our 20th president, he had no intention of even running for president, but at the nomination convention, his name was mentioned and finally the Republicans agreed to pick him. I'm only mentioning James Garfield because my favorite book ever is about James Garfield. It's called Destiny of the Republic. It's awesome. Check it out. You won't regret it. Political parties also run campaigns, and with the internet and media, political parties help fund, organize, and run a political campaign. They also provide voters with information. Voters can gain information about a politician based on their political party. So, for example, if somebody identifies themselves as a Republican, chances are, not always, but chances are they might be pro-life. Conversely, somebody who identifies themselves as a Democrat might most likely is going to be pro-choice. They also vocalize policies. Parties, they advocate a stance on particular issues. Again, whether it's gun control or abortion, the two political parties tend to have a particular stance on those topics. Democrats tend to be pro-choice. Republicans tend to be pro-life. Local parties were once dominated by political machines. We remember this from U.S. history with dudes like Boss Tweed of Tammany Hall, who would have huge control over political life and really who would have huge control over life in New York City, and they would rely heavily on patronage to reward supporters. So people would vote for Boss Tweed. In return, he would make sure that they had jobs. Today, the merit system has replaced patronage in many cases. My favorite book I just mentioned, Destiny of the Republic, it talks about the merit system and this push for civil service exams to replace patronage. And civil service exams are required for many government jobs. So you have to take a test to prove that you are qualified. So what's the role of political parties on the local level? You see a lot of like yard sign distribution for local candidates, and they also provide support to state and local candidates by sharing information, having get out the vote campaigns, etc. So it's on a much smaller scale on state and local levels than on national levels. Each state has different regulations in regards to political parties. An example of this is an open versus closed primary. So in an open primary, voters are not required to register with a party to vote in a primary. So for example, if you want to vote for a Republican or Democratic candidate for the presidential nomination, you don't have to be a member of that respective party. This allows for greater voter participation And the opposite of that is a closed primary. In New York State, where I live, this is a closed primary state. So in order to vote in a presidential primary to decide the presidential nominee, you have to be registered as either a Democrat or a Republican. And closed primaries tend to be favored by political parties because they can get information on you. You're forced to register, and you give them things like your address and your phone number. So this identifies who are eligible voters in that state that they can target for elections. Virtually every state has a political party headquarters for the Democrats and the Republicans, and state political parties tend to aid state campaigns they don't manage. So they help provide funding and other resources, but they don't really manage campaigns. Let's take a look at political parties on a national level. The National Convention, this meets every 4 years and nominates the president and vice president. They also articulate the party's platform. They make an announcement as to how the party stands on certain issues. The National Committee consists of representatives from different states as well as U.S. territories, and the chairperson is responsible for running the national party. They hire the staff, they raise money, they pay the bills, etc. And the president often picks the chairperson for their political party. All right, let's do a quick recap. Functions of political parties. Definitely know it's a linkage institution. Identify other linkage institutions. Know that they choose candidates, they run campaigns, and they provide information to voters as well as vocalize policies. Political parties on the local levels know that it's a transition from political machines to the merit system for jobs. And political parties on the state levels definitely, absolutely know closed versus open primaries. What does it mean? What are the requirements? And on the national level, know about the National Convention, the committee, and the chairperson. For test tips, multiple choice, you could absolutely see closed versus open primary and parties as an example of linkage institutions. I can't stress enough, make sure you know that. For the free response, from 2013, there's an example of functions, roles, and factors that influence political parties. All right, guys, look forward to seeing you right back here for video number 13, the development of political parties, where my boy Henry Clay is making a reappearance. He's coming to AP Government. You saw him in A Push, and he's back for AP Government. So make sure you check that out. I thank you guys very much for watching. Good luck on all your tests this year, especially the one in May, and have a good day.